Well, Andrea, thank you so much for being here with me on this very special edition of the podcast. I am so excited to share you with the audience, interview you, but also learn a little bit more about you and about your chapter in the Fab Collab book. So without further ado, why don't you introduce us and tell us who you are and what you do?
Okay, hello everybody. I'm Andrea L. Richards, and I'm the founder and finance director of a digital accountancy practice called Account Navigator Associates. We're based in Waltham Abbey, but we work for clients locally, nationwide, and recently globally, which has been really exciting. We specialise in helping our clients to grow their business. We calculate tax because we have to, the government says so. And but our thing is about growing people's businesses and helping them get to where they want to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's this is why I love the collaboration when it all came together about Fab Collab is everybody is so unique in what it is that they're doing business wise. But for you in particular, what made you decide that, hey, I want to be an accountant, I'm going to start my own business one day? I mean, what does your story look like?
We're gonna go way back.
Please, by all
Okay.
means, share
Yeah.
away.
Okay. So at the age of 9, my mum came back from parents' evening and she was ecstatic. I'm an A-star student, she tells me. I'm fabulous at maths. And you should be an accountant, Andrea. Well, at 9 years old, who knows what an accountant is? So I looked up in the Oxford Dictionary because back then there was no Google. Yeah. So I went to the Oxford Dictionary, found out what an accountant did. I thought, oh, yeah, I can do that. And then I decided to go look in the newspaper for accountancy jobs because, again, back then there was no Google or Indeed. And so we had to go in the newspaper and I saw and I thought, oh, accountants get paid well. I also then came across the word bookkeeper and I looked that one up and I thought, oh well, bookkeepers get paid well, accountants get well. I'm going to be an accountant. That's what I'm going to do. So from the age of 9, I decided I was going to be an accountant. My mum said so. I thought, okay, let's do that. And off we go. Age 10, what do you want to be when you're older, Andrea? An accountant. Age 11, what do you want to be, Andrea? An accountant. Age 12, what do you want to be, Andrea? An accountant. And that goes on and on until literally the fumble came initially when I was 15. Because at that stage, as much as I still wanted to be an accountant, I'd also discovered boys. And I had got myself this new boyfriend, and I was really excited. And life was great. I had a boyfriend. I was still A-star student. Everything was great. And then I found out I was pregnant. So it was at that stage that even more than ever, I wanted to still be that accountant, but I also wanted my child. So I had my baby and I basically went on rather than doing the usual study path of doing your A levels, doing, going to uni and then going on to do your professionals. I had to take a different option and that because I was adamant I was still going to be an accountant. So I went and did a YTS, youth training scheme. Uh, yeah, pretty much a bit like apprenticeships and that. And it was a business administration with a route into accounting. So I did that course and then I got myself as a was it junior finance associate at a housing association, and they actually paid for me to go to college in the evening and that to study. And so I was able to literally work full time and have yeah, do my studies in the evening paid for by my employer. And that went on. And by the time I was 22, I was qualified. At 22, I was also qualified and also had 2 children at this point and a mortgage. And so, yeah, I was an accountant. I worked in investment management and I worked in international law firms. My title was management accountant or financial controller in those positions. And then it was when I got to 28 that I was made redundant. So I was unemployed for the first time in my life. And it was then that I decided, this ain't happening to me again. Yeah, I'm not going to let nobody control its money. And so I decided to get myself 5 one-day jobs.
Oh my
And
goodness.
yeah, so work for someone different every day. And the onus around that was if anyone made me redundant again, I'd still have 4 jobs. And so I would never be unemployed. And that I didn't like that word, unemployment. So I got 5 one-day jobs. And when you come from the corporate world and you start working in small business, because these were small businesses I was working for, it became apparent it was very different. And they all used to talk about me all the time to each other. Small business knows small business. And anytime anybody wanted a bookkeeper or an accountant, said, oh, we've got a great one, you should use Andrea and that. And so literally my 5 freelancing jobs turned into a business. So it was never planned, it was unexpected, and it just grew and grew and grew. And it came doing 18-hour days, 7 days a week, just working for all these different small businesses. And that went on for 8 years. It was a lot. I was really busy. It was, yeah, but I was working by myself. And it was at that stage. So that was in 2003. I started that. I was 28 in 2003. And by the time 2011 came, I was pretty much on burnout. I just couldn't cope with that anymore. And so I had an option: either give it all up and get a job, or take on staff. And that's when I started really building the practice. And yeah, now we're still here in 2023, and there's 9 of us that work here, and we're all there helping building other people's businesses. And yeah, that's how I started my business.
It's a lovely story. And you know what? I think it's so inspiring to hear you share that, because even though I know that there's so many other accountants possibly listening to this episode, possibly having or going through a phase that you went through and going like, oh, I don't see a way out, or how do I make it? Or I'm just starting to study and I can't see what my future is going to look like yet. And I think it's so inspiring to hear your story, and working along with you on this book, getting to know you better throughout networking. You know, people speak so highly of you and the business. And when you talk about your colleagues, you speak so highly of them. And I just love hearing that, because I think, you know, with everything that you've endured, and that bringing you to where you are now, that journey is phenomenal. And now you love traveling, which is one of the things that you love doing the most.
Yeah, well, 2023's goal was the year of Andrea, and it was get on a plane every month.
Oh,
Yeah,
love
so
it.
just yeah, and I'm blessed with a team that gets on with the work day to day.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, I'm
No, it's brilliant. I love it. Now, I'm intrigued. Let's jump a little bit to Fab Collab, because obviously I remember the first time I met you, and that was just before we signed up for Fab Collab, and
uh-huh.
that was at a Christmas a Christmas event,
Okay.
and the theme was angels. And I looked at the chair next to me, and I thought, oh, there's this lady Andrea who's going to sit next to me, but she hasn't showed up yet. And I haven't even thought about it, and all of a sudden you walk through this door with these big angel wings sticking out from behind you, dragging almost on the floor, and all eyes were on you at that moment. And I just thought, now this is cool. This lady is sitting right next to me at my table. And we just chatted away that day. And that is the first time I met you physically in person. And I felt that it was almost like at that point, the next thing, you know, we're having conversations. You became one of the collaborators on Fab Collab. But even though that was the first time I met you, what made you decide to collaborate and join the Fab Collab book?
Okay. So you mentioned my story. I have a story to tell. And one of my goals is to write my own book.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I thought this would be a great starting point. And that I've never written a book before. So this was a great starting point. It was the opportunity to work with the sisters of Sister Snog and collaborate with them. And so it just felt fitting at the time that I, yeah, sign up for this project. It fitted me perfectly, and that
Yeah.
knowing what I want to do in the future, and
Yeah.
that so this was like a test run for me, kind of thing on the process that I do want to write my own story and let everybody know that there's opportunities for everybody, and yeah, there's an easy way out. You can get out of any predicament that you're in. You work hard, and collaboration is one of those things. If you collaborate with people, you can get far.
Yeah.
I'm a
And
believer of that.
Your chapter in particular is the many phases of collaboration. What does collaboration then mean to you? What is your chapter about a little bit?
Okay, so for me, it's working with others to meet that end goal. Yeah. And I know I've collaborated with many on many different levels to get to where I am today. And so for me, it's, working with others to reach that end goal. Yeah, you don't have to be the number one priority in that goal, but you all reach that certain phase, goal, whatever it is,
Yeah.
by working together. And that's really important to me, that everybody can get to where they want to be, do what they want to do. And sometimes you need that holding hand. And I know I've held a lot of hands to get to where I am.
Yeah.
So yeah, my chapter's a lot about that.
I know, and I really do love your chapter, but there's one particular thing that you said that I loved, and it's collaboration is putting aside personal pride for personal growth. And when I read that, I was like, ooh, I love the way you said it. Why in particular do you feel that's so important when it comes to collaborations?
Okay, so when it comes to people as individuals, me personally, I always want to be number one priority. Yeah, I want to be number one all the time. But sometimes you have to take that step back and work with others to reach that end goal. And you don't have to be number one. Yes, so take your pride away from it all. You don't have to be that individual that has to shine all the time
Yeah.
to reach that end goal. And believe just working together will get you there. And so yeah, you don't have to be that number one person who's in the front. As long as take that pride away, put yourself to the back of the queue, work with everybody around you, and we'll all
Yeah.
reach the goal in the end. And I'm a true believer of that. Yeah. I like to shine, but sometimes others just have to go before you for you to reach that purpose and goal. It is
Yeah,
what it
and I agree. When you put the pride aside, there's kind of like a balance between you and the other collaborators. And I think when there's this balance, when I'm going to say the word, when ego doesn't come to the forefront, there is a good way and also a kind of a camaraderie amongst you in order to work towards that goal, because not one is trying to step ahead of the other, so to speak. And I have seen that as well, with other collaborations, how beautiful it can work together when pride is put aside. So I love that. Another thing that you mentioned also in your chapter is, people talk a lot about stepping outside of the comfort zones, and everybody's got a different idea of what that looks like. But from your perspective, how does that relate to collaborations?
Okay, so we want to reach a goal. Yeah, there's more than one of you involved. You're having to collaborate to get there. You may not like what somebody else has come up with. Yeah, but if it's going to help us get to where we're going, then we're going to go with that. Yeah, and that may not be your idea. It may not be something that you've chosen to do or would have chosen to do. But if it's going to get us to the end goal, yeah, we're going to collaborate together and get there. And
Yeah.
so, yeah. Work. Sometimes you have to work with people, and it's just not. It may not be your thing, but just do it anyway because it's the end purpose that is the main aim,
Yeah.
and that. So yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And I guess that when you try, or when you're working with somebody else and you have to step outside of your comfort zone, when you're doing it with somebody else, you've got that support. You're not doing it on your own. So it makes it a little bit easier as well to kind of do the things you don't think you would have been able to do.
It always, I mean, Henry, we've got to remember, four hands are better than two.
Yeah.
The more hands that are in it, it's just going to make life simpler and that. And so that's what I'm saying. When it comes to collaboration, the more people involved, as difficult as it may be not something that you would do, and that then you're taking on other people's ideas and doing what you want to do. At the end of the day, the more hands that are in on it, if we all grasp and do it anyway,
Yeah.
we'll get there. We'll get
Yeah.
there. And that, yeah, it for me that's a no-brainer. Yeah, just got to do it. Comfort zone or not, like just do it. There's a goal at the end of it. Let's reach it.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the other things you mentioned in your chapter is you said that you need to listen twice as much as talking. And I also do love this because this is something that is part of my values and what it is that I'm doing. But for you in particular, what made you realize that that is one of the things that you need to focus on as well when you're doing a collaboration?
I like to chat.
All
So
that makes
on
two
that,
of us.
yeah. So I'm very chatty, and I like to talk. And but sometimes, it's not just you're working with others. You have to listen to others
Yeah.
and see where they're coming from, understand where they're coming from, and that again to reach the end goal and that. And so, I can't be the one that's just, yeah, we're going to do this and we're going to do that and we're going to get. I am, definitely listen to what other people are saying rather than just being that big mouthpiece, because I can be that big mouthpiece all day long, but you have to listen. You do have to listen, and that take on other people's ideas, understand where they're coming from, and go with it. Because
Yeah.
again, it's to get to the end goal, collaborating to get to that end goal.
Yeah. And I love how you're paraphrasing that every single time you're saying it's to get to that end goal. And I think this is so powerful with any collaboration, is to have whatever that end goal is in mind. And any decision that has to be taken amongst everybody needs to be for the benefit of reaching that end goal.
Yeah.
And I love how you've put it all into different perspectives as well, because, and for those of you who's listening or watching this video, it's all about, whether you're in business or whether it's in personal life, it's how you can use collaborations. And I think this is why Andrea's chapter is so amazing, because it brings both of those aspects together. And trust me, the things that she's sharing here is not just about how you can use it in your business, it's how you use it in your personal life as well. So in the relationships, listen twice as much as you talk, okay?
Definitely.
That's also collaboration, people, by the way. One of the other things you mentioned is using the tools that are available to you at that moment in time. Tell me a little bit about that and what is your take on it when it comes to collaborations?
Okay, so I mean, I've collaborated with many to get where I am today. I can based on my team alone. Having my team and that I'm collaborating with them daily to reach the end goal of supporting our clients and getting them where they want to be. Yeah, so there's loads of elements come into that because we're dealing with loads of people. And, so, people come up with their own ideas and, we use softwares and we're using all these different things. All this is collaboration to get to that end goal, yeah, for our clients. And so, when it comes to my team, that's how it works. We're dealing with different software providers. We're dealing with, the different individual clients, and we're collaborating with these people. When I work with my clients, I am not their accountant. I am partnering with them in their business to get them to their end goal. That is collaboration in itself. Yeah, partnering with your client, not being just their accountant. That's not me. It's partnering with them, collaborating with them for them to get to their end goal. And so that's how it works for me within my business day to day. When it actually comes to, I know my story itself, when I talked about collaboration for me, it was collaborating with my mother. And that for me to get to where I am today, if it wasn't for the collaboration with my mom, I wouldn't have been able to go to study in the evenings. I wouldn't have been able to do the jobs that I've done, and that gave me the experience to then enable me to open the practice and do what I needed to do. My mum was a big part of that collaboration process, and for me to get to my goal, it wasn't her, it was my goal. And we collaborated for many, many years for me to get to where I am today. And yeah, she's a blessing.
Oh,
So yeah.
well, I'm sure she's super proud of you as well. And it was all thanks to her and her help as well throughout the years.
Yeah. I mean, it's quite funny because if she hadn't ever said, you should be an accountant, who knew where I would have been or what I would have done? Because that, she put that in, she sowed the seed,
Yeah.
and now I am what she said I should have been. And that, even though I really did disappoint her at the age of 15, and that because it wasn't going, the way I think she thought it would have gone.
Yeah.
And but with her help and her collaboration with me, I got to where I needed to be in the end. And that because she was very supportive and collaborated with me, looking after my children so I could
Yeah.
study, picking them up after school for me so that I could go finish my job, do a full-time job. And, it was basically all her collaboration with me that has got me to where I am today.
Yeah. And I think it's a beautiful example as well of how to use collaborations in your personal life. Even though we're both business owners and we talk mainly about business, but I think, our personal life very much influences where we are today and how we run our businesses today. And,
Absolutely.
you know, your story is just testament to that and very inspirational and insightful, like I mentioned earlier. But I just wanted to say thank you, Andrea. I mean, with everything you've just shared, you know, it shows how collaborations can really help you with your own growth, whether in business or personal. And this is why I wanted to bring you onto the podcast, in order to learn a little bit more about you, for you to share your story with the audience. But also, I just wanted to thank you and say thank you so much for being part of this book with all of us. It was such a pleasure to meet you properly and to do this with you. And yeah, I cannot be more thrilled with the outcome at the end of the day. So thank you as well for your participation. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Henriette. Thank you. No, it's been amazing, that journey. It's something I've never done before, and so just having 15 powerful women working together to again meet the end goal, and that it's been hard, but it's also been very enjoyable. And yeah, any collaboration shouldn't be easy, and that if we're trying to reach some end goal, but we've reached that goal and we've got a fabulous book out because of it.
I know. I know it was such a journey, and it's still keeping on, you know, to be an incredible journey. I mean, we're doing some amazing stuff together and we got some amazing stuff coming up. So for those of you listening or watching this video, like I said, you know, there's some great stuff still to come with the Fab Collab book. This is just the beginning. Yes, we launched the book. Yes, we hit Amazon bestseller, but it is still a journey for all of us. So what I would like to share is, if you want to get in touch with Andrea, or if you would like to learn a little bit more about her, all her details are below in the show notes with her links to social media, and you can also go and connect with her there. And then of course, all the details to the book will also be in the show notes. So if you haven't got a copy yet, by all means, go and have a look. It's available on Amazon. But Andrea, thank you so much again for your time being here. I really appreciate it. And yes, we'll be in touch soon. We'll see each other again.